everybody. So another change of direction. The weather hasn't been the best lately, and I really need to get some panels painted, so I've sort of stopped worrying about the interior for the time being. Weather's kind of a little abnormal lately around here. It's 70 one day and 25 degrees the next day. So I've got about a week of decent weather coming up, so I'm going to try to knock out as much painting as I can, specifically items like the doors, the hood, the hatch, stuff like that, so I can get the car secure. Currently it's sitting outside wrapped in drop cloth plastic, 4mm plastic, because we're supposed to have a little bit of drizzle today, but it also protect the car enough. So it'll probably be sitting out there for a couple days so I can knock out the painting in here. I've already gone ahead and dragged the doors in here because I want to go ahead and knock out them first. The inside of the doors themselves from the factory have a plastic cover, almost like a vapor barrier in there, and it's held in with some kind of like tar glue. It's not silicone. It's really sticky, it's really nasty, and it's a really pain in the ass to get off of there. So I spent the last 2 hours with a wire brush and Goo Gone trying to get it off. I finally got it all cleared off. I was going to show it up, but I'm sort of in a rush lately to try to get stuff done as fast as I can today. And I just got back from vacation. I spent a week down in Florida with family, so all my camera equipment's still all packed up because I packed it all away while I was gone. So I went ahead and set this one up real fast. So I'm going to go ahead, right now I'm at the point now where I'm going to start sanding on these doors and start getting them prepped for paint. And then, as you can see, I've got a wood frame built here for hanging parts. I'll probably have to build 2 wood frames, or at least a single wood frame to hold the doors so I can paint them. Because when I paint them, I want to do the inside jam area along with the outside area too. So I pretty much want to hang them the same position that they would be hanging on the car so I can get the paint properly applied on there. So it's going to be a little bit of a challenge because I don't have a rack to sort of hold those doors and stuff like that in place. But I got enough wood and I got enough tools, I should be able to build something or fashion something up enough to hold the doors in place so I can get them painted. So as for now, I'm going to go ahead and work on that. And once I get the doors prepped and everything, may drag the hood in here depending on how much room I have. I do have a bunch of small parts I'm going to try to knock out also at the same time. So for the time being, it's going to be probably a bunch of time-lapse videos of me just knocking stuff out. With this here, there's no body work on the doors that needs to be done. As far as I can see, fingers crossed. So it's pretty much just going to be scuffing it up, taking it down, smoothing it down to a 600 grit. I do have a digital orbiter sander that I'm going to be using for this stuff here instead of hand sanding it. Because it's a little more forgiving than the actual the body itself, where I've got all the jams and everything like that. So it's more smooth surfaces here. So I'm going to get a camera set up, start working on this, and I'll be back with you guys soon. So we're back to paint again. Doors are all set up. Finished off all the body work on that. There's a few little dings in there that I had to fill in some body filler you saw in the time lapse. So I got that all situated out. Nothing too major on it, just a couple little dings, just wanted to level and flatten everything out. So they're all primered up, all sanded down and ready to be sprayed. I've gone ahead and cleaned all the garage out, so we're all set there too. I've also got in the rear hanging up, I got some of the outside door trim pieces for the pillars and stuff like that, because when I put the doors back on and all the weather stripping, I'll need to put those trim pieces on first before I can situate all that. So I'm going to go ahead and knock those out also. So you see I built a hanging rack here, just some 2x4s, and my lovely little door hanger here. Wasn't going to drop the $300 or $400 they wanted for the actual door hanger, so I just made my own using my own tool cart. So it works great. So now I'm able to spray them in the position they would be on the car. So we'll go ahead and get those knocked out. I just need to go ahead and do a final wipe solvent on all the parts, then get some paint mixed up, and we'll go ahead and spray here shortly. So back to you guys in a minute. So it's the next day now. Let the paint cure overnight. Still got another day or so to completely finally cure up before I start really messing with anything on it. But it being the doors, there's a bunch of stuff like the locking mechanism and stuff like that. I can go ahead and start working on getting installed for the interior. The way I got the doors hung up here gives me enough access to start knocking out a few little things like that. Because when we go ahead and hang the doors, the latching mechanism on the door jamb itself will need to be installed so we can get it all lined up properly. So I'm going to go ahead and work on that. But the main thing right now is trying to get these doors into position so that once they are fully dried, you go ahead and mount them. Then I get the hatch in here and start working on getting it prepped because I'll need to get it installed also. And that should, for the most part, seal up the outside of the car so I can lock it, keep it up outside, and not having to worry about keeping it all covered up every day. The panels that are behind me, the trim pieces and stuff like that, came out great. The one roof panel's got a pretty large run on it. I'm going to work on it. I may be able to sand it up. I'm not too sure yet. I need to let it sit up fully before I can make a decision on whether or not I'll need to go ahead and sand it down and repaint it. It's just a clear coat, so I should be able to just flatten it out, block it out, it's flat, hit it with a new clear coat. But I'm going to see what I can do about just trying to sand it buffed out first before we go down the entire route of trying to redo the entire paint on it, or redo the entire clear coat on it. But for now, I'm going to dig in all the parts to get the locking mechanism back on the door, and I'll go from there. So the door latch mechanisms are all on the doors now, so now I'm working on the hardware. Since I can't really do too much else with the doors right now, I'm still waiting for them to dry, I can at least get the hardware all cleaned up. So I've gone ahead and I've separated out all the metal from plastic stuff here, so All the metal stuff will go in here in the tumbler here in a minute. We'll get that all stuff cleaned up. One of the things I want to note is these window guide units here. They have this wrapped piece of mole fur, whatever you want to call it, on there. I've gone ahead and removed it. It's basically just wrapped around and glued on. That way I get this all cleaned up in the tumbler, but at the same time, go ahead and try to recondition this stuff here. With the window basically rubs against this and keeps it from making contact with any of the metal in there. But over the years, this stuff wears down. As you can see, it's kind of shiny and flat. Easy way to work it back to its condition is just a brass bristle brush. Just go ahead and rub on it a little bit, and what it does is it pops all the hair back up. As long as it's not pitted and cut open and missing any of the stuff, the wire brush will usually do a pretty good job of it. But basically you're just combing it back out. And then we've got a nice smooth piece again. So I'll go ahead and finish up both of these here, and these round adjustment stoppers here. Almost every one of these I've ever seen has all been smooth flat like this. So I'll go ahead and get these cleaned up here. And then I'm going to turn my attention to items like the door latch mechanisms, the inside door latch mechanisms. I get that all cleaned up and get all the mechanisms in there greased up. One of the things I also did with the actual door latch mechanisms is go in there and add a little grease to the sliding points and stuff like that, so nothing will hang up. And then I'll go ahead and start working on the window regulators too. So the plan is that in the next day or so, when the paint is finally fully cured, I'll have all the parts ready, and I can just go ahead and start slapping things together. So I'm gonna get working on that, and I'll be back with you guys here in a bit. Okay, so I finished off all door hardware, but I did notice one big boo-boo I made when I was painting all the extra parts for the doors and everything. One thing I forgot was the door handles themselves. So I cut the door handles off to the side. I'm going to start prepping them along with some of the mirrors and some other stuff, little parts in there. All those little things I can hit up with the touch-up gun. I don't need to break out the big gun for that, so no issues with that. In the meantime, I've gone ahead and pulled in the rear hatch. There's parts on here I need to get stripped off, just little bits and trims and bolts and stuff like that. Then we can start sanding the underside here, because my plan is to tape everything off, paint the side that's up right now, which is the inside or the underside of the hatch, because we're really not going to clear that too much, and then we'll flip it over, paint that side, and then we'll clear that, and that should give me enough room to be able to hit the sides and everything else I need with clear from there. So, but as you can see, this hatch has got a lot of spray foam and everything else in it. This hatch has had a really odd leak for the longest time. I don't know where it's coming from. I don't know if it was from some of the wire pass-throughs at the top or whatnot. Luckily, with the way it's set up now, there's no wiring left in the hatch itself, so I'm going to be stripping out all the wiring. The rear defrosters don't work anyway, they never have, so all the wiring will be coming off. I'll be sealing up all the holes that I can. I'm not going to be welding any of them shut, but I'll have plugs that go in all the spots to get that all taken care of. So in the meantime, I'm going to strip off all this hardware, start working on getting this thing cleaned up. So hopefully, once we get the doors are completely dried and we get those hung up, then I can move directly on to getting the rear hatch painted. So we're just going to keep flowing along with things, and then move on to what's next after that. So I'm going to work on this stuff, and we'll go from there. I was working on the tailgate. I come to find out at the bottom portion where the windshield meets the actual metal part of the hatch itself, there was a lot of rust on the back side, on the inside of the car. So I started chipping away at it a little bit, and I noticed it ended up rusting all the way through and underneath the rear glass seal. So I believe that's where my water issue has been coming in at, because I've always had water puddling underneath the underside panel that's in the car, and then it drips inside the car on the edges there. So that was the purpose for the spray foam and everything, was trying to seal up all the inside of the hatch to try to find where the water leak was. There's a lot of rust in there. It doesn't look too bad from what I can see, but I have gone out and I've cut the rear glass out. Wasn't intentional or wasn't intended as part of the plan to remove the glass. I was just going to tape it off to paint it. But with the amount of rust that's sitting under there, I need to get that rust cleaned up. I need to get the rear glass resealed back to the hatch itself. Because currently there was probably almost a foot of glass that was not actually sealed to the hatch itself. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this glass pulled out. I've already got it cut all the way out. It took a little while. Luckily it wasn't too bad. And so far I haven't broken anything. So fingers crossed this here is actually going to go up into the spare bedroom inside the house, stored away, so it doesn't get damaged. In the meantime, I'll work on getting all the rust and everything that's in here, taking a better look at it. I'm really hoping that the hatch itself will be salvageable. I really don't want to have to go try to hunt down a new hatch for the car, but we'll see. So I'm going to go ahead and get this pulled out and get the rest taken care of, and I'll go from there. So I've got the glass ticket upstairs, and just looking over things, it doesn't look like the rust is too bad. It looks like it just got underneath the seal here, as you can see here. Basically just separated the gasket, the glass gasket, from the actual metal. It's not rotted through at all anywhere that I can see. It's a little heavy right there. But other than that, so I've got this here, and then I've got a spot over here too, you can see, where it's rusted through in a seam here, and it's all just surface rust. So this doesn't look like it's going to be too hard of an issue to fix. So right now I'm going to go ahead and get this, get all this old polyurethane off of here from the windshield, and get a better look. Probably run a wire brush off over it all too, to clean it all up. And then I'll make a decision where we're going to go from here with this hatch. So tailgate priming is all complete. Now what we need to do is I actually need to flip this over and spray the inside of the tailgate with the paint, with the color, because I don't want to try to hang this and do it. It's just going to be too awkward. It's best to just flip it over, spray the color coat on, let it set up, and then we can flip it back over and spray this side with the color coat into the clear, since I'm not going to be clearing the underside of it. Just like from factory, pretty much anything that's not exposed doesn't really get a clear coat on it. So like when you pull your carpets out or something like that, or your door panels, there's no clear coat on the inside. And that's what we're going to do with this here, is we're going to do the color coat on the underside, flip it back over, do the color coat on the top, and then clear it. There's also items like the door handles and assemblies themselves. These are really awkward to paint, so it's best to do it in two shots. So what we'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll zip tie this open into this position here, and we'll hit all these really hard nooks and crannies with the color coat when we do this. Let this set up, and then we're done. We'll unzip tie it to a normal closed position like you would normally see, color coated again, and then clear coated, and that'll help us get rid of any issues with runs, trying to get paint into areas where it's too hard to get into. Basically trying to force it in, you end up getting runs and scrap like that. I don't want to deal with that, so I'm just going to do it the easy way. So we got these, we got the mirrors, and we'll go ahead and knock out the tailgate. I'll probably do the hinges too. I'll just do this as a solid color. They're not going to get any clear coat at all, so I don't have to worry about them. So I can just knock out all those parts out. So I'm going to go ahead and get it set up right now, get this thing flipped over, get everything cleaned up like we need to be, mix up some paint, and we'll go ahead and spray.